Li Ho stood in the corner of the Grand Assembly Hall, holding a glass of something blue that tasted like metal and flowers. He hated these diplomatic parties. Too many aliens, too many languages, too many ways to accidentally insult someone. He was just a mid-level diplomat from Earth, the kind of person who filled out paperwork and sat through boring trade meetings. The hall itself was massive. Crystal pillars reached up toward a ceiling that looked like the night sky, complete with moving stars. Hundreds of aliens from across the galaxy mingled together. Some had wings, some had scales, some looked almost human except for the wrong number of eyes or fingers. Ho had been to a dozen of these events, and he still felt out of place. His colleague, Ambassador Jin, stood nearby talking to a delegation from the hegemony. She was good at this, the smooth talking and political games. Ho preferred reading reports in his quiet office on the human station. He glanced at his watch. Another hour and he could leave without being rude. Then the music stopped. Everyone turned toward the main entrance. A group of tall, elegant figures entered the hall. They moved with perfect grace, as if they were dancing even while walking. Their skin shimmered like pearl, and their eyes were solid silver without any pupils. Everyone knew about them. They were one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, perfect in every way, or so they claimed. At the front walked a woman who could only be royalty. She wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. Her face was beautiful in a way that was almost frightening, like a sculpture come to life. Princess Ra. Ho had seen her picture in briefing documents but never in person. The princess walked to the center of the hall. Everyone fell silent. Even the warriors who feared nothing looked nervous. "I am Princess Ra of the Empire," she said. Her voice was clear and strong, speaking in perfect galactic standard. "I come before you today with an announcement that concerns the future of my people." Ho sipped his blue drink and tried to look interested. This was probably about another treaty or trade agreement, nothing to do with him. "The face extinction," Ra continued. That got everyone's attention. Whispers filled the hall. The dying, they were supposed to be perfect, immortal almost. How could they be dying? "Our genetic code has become too stable," the princess explained. "We have removed all flaws, all weaknesses, all variations. Now we cannot adapt, cannot change. Our children are born weaker with each generation. In 200 years there will be no more." The hall erupted in noise. Aliens shouted questions in a dozen languages. Ho just stared. This was the kind of news that would reshape galactic politics for centuries. Ra raised one hand and silence fell again. "There is one solution. Ancient law allows for an imperial marriage to another species, a union that might bring new strength to our bloodline. I have studied every race in this galaxy. I have read every file, every report, every piece of data available." She began to walk through the crowd. Aliens straightened up as she passed, hopping to be chosen. The warriors puffed out their chests. The ambassadors, known for their intelligence, looked eager. Even the crystalline, barely solid enough to touch, seemed to lean toward her. Ho took another sip of his drink. This was fascinating to watch, but still nothing to do with him. Humans were newcomers to galactic society. Only 200 years since first contact. Nobody important ever paid attention to humans unless they wanted cheap labor or someone to mine dangerous asteroids. Ra walked past the warriors without a glance. Past the. She moved through the crowd with clear purpose, as if she already knew exactly where she was going. Ho realized she was walking toward his section of the hall, probably heading for Ambassador. Jin was impressive after all. Smart, capable, everything a diplomat should be. He stepped aside to give the princess room to pass. Ra stopped directly in front of him. Ho looked behind him. Nobody there except a potted plant that looked like it was trying to eat a waiter. The princess stared at him with those silver eyes. Up close, she was even more striking and terrifying. She stood at least a head taller than him. "You are Li Ho," she said, It was not a question. Yes, Ho managed. His mouth had gone dry. Can I help you with something, Your Highness? According to ancient law, I must publicly declare my chosen mate. Ra's voice carried across the now silent hall. I choose this human, Li Ho of Earth. For a moment, Ho thought he had misheard. The translator in his ear must have malfunctioned. She could not have just said what he thought she said. But every alien in the hall was staring at him now. Some looked shocked. Some looked angry. Some looked like they wanted to laugh. I'm sorry, what? Ho said weakly. I choose you as my husband, Ra repeated, as calmly as if she were ordering lunch. You will return with me to Prime. We will be married according to both our customs. This union will save my people. There must be some mistake, Ho said. His heart was pounding. I'm nobody, just a low-level diplomat. There are humans way more important than me. Ambassador right over there, she's. I did not choose her, I chose you. Ambassador pushed through the crowd. Your Highness, with all respect, surely there has been some confusion. Perhaps you meant to choose a different human representative, someone more suitable for such an honor. Ra did not take her eyes off Ho. There is no confusion. My people's computers analyzed every member of every species in this galaxy. Billions of individuals. Only one possesses the specific genetic and psychological traits we require. Li Ho of Earth, born on Mars Colony 7, age 32, currently assigned to Outer Rim trade negotiations. But why? Ho asked. What could I possibly have that all these other species don't? For the first time, something like emotion crossed Ra's perfect face. Your species possesses what mine has lost, the ability to adapt, to survive impossible odds, to find solutions where logic says none exist. Your personal file shows you have survived 3 colony disasters, solved 7 supposedly unsolvable engineering problems, and once talked down an armed station riot using nothing but common sense and stubborn determination. That's just, I mean, anyone would have. No, Ra said firmly. They would have calculated optimal solutions and died when the calculations failed. You improvised. You refused to give up. You found a way. That is what we need. That is what you will bring to our children. A massive warrior pushed forward. This is an insult. Humans are barely out of their own solar system. They have no honor, no strength. They have adaptability, Ra replied. They have creativity born from chaos. They have emotional resilience. These are worth more than strength or honor when facing extinction. Ho felt dizzy. Can I think about this? This is a lot to process. You have 48 hours to accept, Ra said. If you refuse, the Empire will withdraw from all Galactic Council treaties and close our borders. We will face extinction alone. If you accept, you will become Prince Consort of the oldest empire in known space. Choose wisely, Li Ho. She turned and walked away, her entourage following. The hall erupted in chaos behind her. Everyone was shouting, arguing, demanding explanations. Ho just stood there, still holding his blue drink, wondering if he had somehow fallen into an alternate universe. Ambassador grabbed his arm. We need to talk right now. Ho nodded numbly. His quiet, boring life had just exploded into something he could never have imagined. An alien princess wanted to marry him. The fate of an entire civilization apparently rested on his shoulders. He had 48 hours to decide. This was definitely not in his job description. Ho sat in Ambassador's office, his head in his hands. The past 6 hours had been a nightmare. News of the princess's choice had spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communication. His personal messages were flooded with thousands of calls. Some were congratulations. Most were angry demands or threats. Drink this, said, pushing a cup of real Earth coffee toward him. You look terrible. Ho took the cup gratefully. Coffee was expensive this far from Earth, but he needed it. How is this my life now? Yesterday I was worried about filing trade reports on time. Today I'm supposed to save an alien empire by getting married. The Earth Council is panicking, said, sitting across from him. Half want you to accept because it could make humanity a major galactic power. The other half think it's a trap. The hegemony has already filed 3 formal protests. 2 other species are threatening war if the marriage happens. Great, no pressure then. His expression softened. Ho, you don't have to do this. We can find a way out. Maybe offer another human candidate, someone who actually wants this. She said I'm the only one who fits what they need. Ho rubbed his tired eyes. I looked up the Empire. They don't make mistakes. If their computers say I'm the one, then I probably am. The question is why. A knock at the door interrupted them, looked surprised. I didn't authorize any visitors. The door opened anyway. A tall male entered, his silver eyes scanning the room. He wore simpler robes than the princess, but he still moved with that same perfect grace. I am Lord Chief Advisor to Princess Ra, he said. I apologize for the intrusion, but time is limited. I must speak with Li Ho alone. Stood up, her hand moving toward the emergency beacon on her desk. This is Earth diplomatic territory. You can't just... It's okay, Jin, Ho said quietly. I want to hear what he has to say. Hesitated, then nodded. I'll be right outside. You scream if you need help. She gave Lord a warning look before leaving. Waited until the door closed. Then he did something Ho did not expect. He sat down and his perfect posture slumped slightly. Suddenly he looked tired, almost human. Thank you for seeing me, said. I imagine you have many questions. Why me? Ho asked bluntly. Be honest, what's really going on? Was quiet for a moment. Do you know what it means to be perfect, Li Ho, truly perfect? I guess it means not making mistakes. It means being unable to make mistakes, corrected. For 10,000 years they have pursued perfection. We eliminated genetic diseases. Then we eliminated genetic variations. We optimized our intelligence, our strength, Every generation was designed to be better than the last, and we succeeded. That sounds good, Ho said carefully. It was our doom. Silver eyes seemed to dim. We became so perfect that we stopped being able to change. Evolution requires variation, mistakes, random chance. We removed all of that. Now our children are exact copies of their parents, except weaker. Each generation loses a little more vitality. We tried to fix it, but our science cannot solve a problem we engineered into our very existence. Ho began to understand. So you need new genes, fresh DNA, something unpredictable. More than that, we need what humanity represents. Leaned forward. Your species is chaos incarnate. You are imperfect, unpredictable, emotional. You make terrible decisions based on feelings rather than logic. You fight among yourselves constantly. You nearly destroyed your own planet before reaching space. Thanks, Ho said dryly, really selling us here. But you survive, continued. Against all logic, humanity survives everything. Your people have faced extinction a dozen times and always found a way. Do you know why? Because we're too stubborn to die. Because you adapt, you improvise. When the logical solution fails, you try something illogical. When the optimal path is blocked, you find a new path that should not work but does. You embrace chaos and make it your strength. Stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. They cannot do this anymore. We have forgotten how. We need you to teach us to be imperfect again. Ho processed this. But why me specifically? There are billions of humans. We analyzed everyone. Most humans born on Earth grow up in comfort with safety nets and support systems. You grew up on Mars Colony 7, one of the worst colonies in human space. You lost your parents when a habitat seal failed. You were 14. Ho felt a sharp pain in his chest. He did not like talking about that time. Continued, his voice gentle. You survived for 3 weeks alone before rescue arrived. You had no training, no supplies, no hope of help. Every calculation said you should have died. But you fixed the air recycler with parts from a broken water filter. You grew fungus from protein paste to eat. You refuse to give up. That is the spirit we need." "That was just desperation," Ho said quietly. "Anyone would have done the same." "No, most would have given up. They would have accepted the logical conclusion that survival was impossible. But you did not. You never do. Your record shows 7 other impossible situations where you found a way to survive or succeed. You are the living embodiment of human adaptability." There was another knock at the door. This time it opened to reveal a human in a military uniform. Captain Park Woo, an old friend from Ho's days on Mars. They had survived colony disasters together as teenagers. "Ho, I came as soon as I heard," Woo said, then saw Lord. His hand went to his sidearm. "Is everything okay here?" "It's fine," Ho assured him. "Lord was just explaining things." Woo relaxed slightly but kept watching them carefully. "I brought my ship. If you want to leave, I can get you out of here. We can be in Earth space before anyone can stop us." "Run away?" Ho asked. "If that's what you want, yes. You're my friend. I'm not letting you get forced into something you don't want." "Spoke up. If he runs, my people die. If he refuses, we withdraw from the Galactic Council and there will be war. Many species want technology. They will attack once we are isolated and weakened." "That's not Ho's problem," Wu said firmly. "But it would be humanity's problem," Ho said slowly. "If war starts, Earth will get dragged in. We always do, and we're not strong enough to survive a galactic war." Wu's expression darkened. "So they're blackmailing you with the threat of war." "It is not blackmail if the threat is real," said. "I take no pleasure in this situation. I am asking, not demanding. If Li Ho refuses, I will respect his choice and face the consequences." Ho stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see ships from 100 worlds docked at the station. Humanity had worked so hard to earn a place among the stars. Everything was still so fragile, so new. One wrong move could destroy everything humans had built. "What happens if I say yes?" Ho asked. "You return with us to Prime," explained. "There will be a period of cultural exchange, learning about each other. Then a marriage ceremony combining both our traditions. After that, you become Prince Consort. Your voice will carry weight in the Empire. Your children will be the bridge between our species." "Children?" Ho felt his stomach drop. "That is the purpose, yes. Though pregnancy is different from human, it requires both partners' consent and conscious participation. Nothing happens without agreement." Wu put a hand on Ho's shoulder. "Brother, whatever you decide, I've got your back. But don't do this just because you think you have to save everyone. You matter too." Ho looked at his friend, then at Lord. He thought about his parents, who died trying to fix a colony that everyone said was doomed. He thought about all the times he had survived by refusing to give up when logic said he should. "Can I meet with Princess Ra again?" Ho asked. "Before I decide, I need to talk to her, really talk, not in front of 1,000 aliens." Nodded. "I can arrange that. Tomorrow somewhere private." After left, Wu poured 2 glasses of something stronger than coffee. "You're actually considering this?" "Maybe I am," Ho admitted. "Is that crazy?" "Probably, but you've never done things the easy way." Wu raised his glass. "To impossible situations and the idiots who try to solve them anyway." Ho clinked his glass against his friend's. "To being too stubborn to quit." He had one day before meeting the princess again. One day to decide if he was brave enough, or foolish enough, to say yes to the most impossible situation of his life. Outside the window, stars wheeled silently in the void, uncaring of human worries or alien empires. But somewhere out there, an entire civilization waited for his answer. The meeting place was a small garden on the diplomatic ship. Real plants, not artificial ones, filled the space with green leaves and flowers that glowed softly in the dim light. Ho had never seen anything like it. Most ships only had recycled air and metal walls. Princess Ra stood by a fountain that made no sound despite the water flowing through it. She had changed from her formal robes into something simpler, though still elegant. She looked almost human, except for those silver eyes and the way she held herself with absolute stillness. "Thank you for coming," she said as Ho entered. "I know you must have many concerns." "That's one way to put it," Ho said. He had practiced speeches all night, prepared questions and arguments. Now his mind was blank. "Why didn't you warn me? Send a message first, something." "Would you have believed it? Would you have agreed to meet?" Ra gestured to a bench near the fountain. "Please sit. We should talk as equals, not princess and subject." Ho sat down, keeping some distance between them. "Lord explained about your genetic problem. I understand why you need help, but there must be others who could do this. Better candidates." "There are none," Ra said simply. She sat on the bench, though she still maintained perfect posture. "We searched for 50 years, analyzed every species, every individual we could access. The requirements are specific: compatible biology, psychological resilience, genetic diversity, and most importantly, the right kind of adaptability. And I won the lottery." "You won nothing. You earned your place through survival." Ra turned to look at him directly. "I have read everything about you, Li Ho. Every report, every school record, every psychological evaluation. I know about Mars Colony 7, about what you endured. I know you dream about it sometimes, about being alone in the dark with failing air." Ho felt exposed, vulnerable. "That's private." "I apologize, but I needed to understand you, to know if you were truly the right choice." Her voice softened slightly. "You have been hurt. You have lost much. Yet you continue forward. That is what we have forgotten how to do." "They are supposed to be perfect. How can you forget anything?" Ra was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried something Ho had not heard before: sadness. "Perfection is a beautiful cage. We eliminated pain, but also eliminated the growth that comes from pain. We removed failure, but also removed the lessons of failure. We achieved immortality of body, but created death of spirit." She stood and walked to a plant with blue flowers. "Do you know what this is?" "No idea." "It is a flower from Mai. It only grows in volcanic soil. The seeds must be burned before they can sprout. Fire is necessary for life." She touched one flower gently. "They used to be like these flowers. We thrived in difficulty. Then we removed all difficulty from our lives. Now we are forgetting how to bloom." Ho joined her by the plant. Up close, the flowers smelled like cinnamon and rain. "If I agree to this, what exactly happens? Lord mentioned marriage and children, but I need details." "Honest details or diplomatic details?" "Honest." Ra nodded. "You would come to Prime. For the first month you would learn our language, customs, history. I would learn yours. We would spend time together, supervised by advisors. This is traditional courtship period." "Supervised like chaperones?" "Yes, they are very formal about such things. After the courtship month, if both parties still agree, there is a marriage ceremony. Then you become prince consort. You would have political power, a seat on the ruling council, authority to make decisions for the empire." "That sounds terrifying." "It is, even for me." Ra smiled slightly, the first real expression Ho had seen on her face. "I have been trained since birth to rule, and I still feel unprepared. But you would not be alone. I would help you, teach you. We would learn together." "And children?" "Reproduction is not like human. It requires mental connection, shared intention. Both partners must agree and participate consciously. Nothing happens accidentally. We can wait years if needed until you are ready." Ho felt some tension ease. "That's better than I expected." "I am not a monster, Li Ho. I do not wish to trap you or force you into something terrible." Ra met his eyes. "I am desperate, yes. My people are dying. But I also know that a marriage built on force will fail. I need a true partner, not a prisoner." "Why not use artificial methods? Clone human DNA or something?" "We tried. It does not work. The need more than genetic material. We need the living example. Children raised by both species, learning both ways of thinking. Only then can we relearn what we have lost. They walked through the garden in silence for a while. Ho's mind raced with thoughts. This was insane, completely insane. He was a nobody, a low-level bureaucrat who filed paperwork. He was not qualified to be anyone's prince, let alone help save an alien civilization. But another part of him, the part that had survived alone on Mars, the part that never gave up, felt something else. A challenge, a purpose bigger than himself. "If I say no, what happens to you?" Ho asked. "I will try to find another solution, search longer, but we may not have time." Ra's expression remained calm, but Ho could see the fear underneath. "If we fail, then we'll fade into history. 10,000 years of civilization gone, all because we were too proud to remain imperfect. And if I say yes, there's no guarantee it works. No, this is theory based on computer models. We could fail anyway. You would sacrifice years of your life for nothing." "Comforting." Ra actually laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "You asked for honesty, I am being honest. This is a risk, a terrible risk, but it is the only chance we have." Ho stopped walking and turned to face her fully. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "Are you afraid?" The question seemed to catch her off guard. For a moment the perfect princess mask slipped completely. "Terrified," she admitted quietly. "I am asking a stranger to leave his world, his people, his entire life, to trust me with his future, to possibly raise children in a culture completely foreign to him. How could I not be afraid?" "But you're doing it anyway." "Because I must, because my people need me to be brave even when I am afraid." She looked down at her hands. "The do not show fear, it is considered weakness, but you asked for honesty, so I give it. I am scared, Li Ho, scared of failing, scared of choosing wrong, scared of being responsible for my people's extinction." For the first time since this whole mess started, Ho felt a connection to her. Not princess to subject, not alien to human, just two people facing an impossible situation. "I need to tell you something too," Ho said. "I'm not special. I'm not a hero. Everything I've ever done I did because I had no choice. I survived because the alternative was dying. That's not adaptability or strength. That's just fear of death." "Perhaps," Ra said, "or perhaps you do not see yourself clearly. You think survival is simple, common, but it is not. Many people give up when faced with less than what you endured. You did not. That makes you extraordinary, whether you believe it or not." They stood in the quiet garden, two people from different worlds, considering an impossible future together. "I need more time," Ho finally said. "I can't decide this in a day." "You have until tomorrow evening. That is all the time politics allows. I am sorry." "If I say yes, I want conditions." Ra nodded. "Name them." "First, this has to be a real partnership. You said equals. I want that in writing, in whatever passes for law in your empire. I'm not just a genetic donor or a political pawn." "Agreed." "Second, I need regular contact with Earth and humans. I'm not cutting myself off from my people." "Agreed. You may have human advisors, friends visit, whatever you need." "Third, if this doesn't work, if we try and it fails, I want the freedom to leave. No blame, no consequences. Just let me go home." Ra hesitated on that one. "I will do my best. The do not easily release bonds once formed, but I promise you will always be treated with respect and dignity, even if we fail." "I guess that's the best I can hope for." "Is there anything else?" Ho thought hard. "Yeah, stop calling me extraordinary or special. I'm just a guy trying his best. That's all I can promise to be." Ra smiled again, warmer this time. "Very well. You are just a guy trying his best, and I am just a princess trying to save her people. Perhaps that is enough." As Ho left the garden, his mind was spinning. He still had not decided, but he felt like he understood better now. Ra was not just some perfect alien princess. She was a person, scared and desperate and trying to do the right thing, just like him. Tomorrow evening he would give his answer. One way or another, everything would change. Ho stood before the assembled Galactic Council representatives, his hands sweating inside his formal diplomatic suit. Ambassador stood to his left, Captain Wu to his right. Princess Ra waited on the other side of the chamber with her advisors. "I have made my decision," Ho said, his voice carrying across the silent hall. "I accept Princess Ra's proposal. I will go to Prime and do everything I can to help her people." The hall erupted. Some aliens cheered, others shouted in anger. The delegation stormed out, but Ho only watched Ra, who closed her eyes in clear relief. "This is madness," a voice boomed across the chamber. General, a high-ranking military commander, stepped forward. His perfect face was twisted in disgust. "You would pollute our bloodline with this primitive creature. You would doom us to degradation rather than face extinction with honor." "The decision is made, General," Lord said firmly. "The princess has chosen according to ancient law." "Then I invoke the trial of," declared. "If this human wishes to join the Empire, let him prove he is worthy. Let him face the trial that no outsider has ever passed." Ra's expression turned to horror. "No, the trial of is designed for our physiology, our thinking. It is impossible for a human." "Then he is not worthy," said coldly. "Either he passes the trial or this marriage is rejected by military law. You may be princess, but I command the fleet. Without the military's acceptance, there will be civil war." Lord leaned close to Ra, whispering urgently. She looked torn, desperate. Finally, she turned to Ho. "You do not have to do this. We can find another way." Ho felt Captain Wu grip his shoulder. "Don't do it, it's a trap." But Ho looked at General's smug face, at the watching aliens waiting for humanity to fail, at Ra's desperate hope. He had survived impossible situations before. Maybe he could do it again. "What's this trial?" Ho asked. Smiled cruelly. 3 challenges: combat, intellect, and leadership, all designed to test the qualities of a true. You have 1 day to prepare. Fail any part and you are executed for attempting to infiltrate the imperial family. Success means the military will accept this marriage. "Those are not fair terms," Ambassador protested. "Life is not fair," replied. "This is law. Does the human accept or does he flee?" Ho met Ra's silver eyes. She looked terrified for him. That decided it. She was risking everything for her people. He could do the same. "I accept." The next day, Ho stood in a massive arena on the ship. Thousands watched from seats above. The arena floor was bare metal, cold and perfect. Across from him stood 3 warriors in combat armor. "First trial, combat," his voice echoed through the space. "Defeat our warriors or survive for 10 minutes. Your choice." The warriors activated energy shields and drew weapons that crackled with power. Ho had a simple metal staff. No armor, no shield, no chance. The warriors moved in perfect coordination, like a single organism with 3 bodies. Ho barely dodged the first strike. The second caught him in the ribs, sending him sprawling. Pain exploded through his side. He rolled, barely avoiding a weapon that would have taken his head off. This was impossible. They were faster, stronger, better trained. He could not win. But he did not need to win. He needed to survive. Ho stopped trying to fight properly. He scrambled, dodged, rolled away. He used the environment, putting obstacles between himself and the warriors. He fell down and crawled. He looked pathetic, desperate, nothing like a noble warrior. The watching began to murmur. This was not how combat was supposed to look. It was messy, chaotic, undignified. But Ho was still alive. The warriors grew frustrated. They were trained for honorable combat, not chasing a target that refused to fight back. They made mistakes, tiny ones. Ho exploited every error. He tripped one warrior with his staff, used another's momentum to make him crash into his partner, threw dust in their faces. 10 minutes passed. Ho collapsed, gasping for air, bleeding from a dozen cuts, but alive. First trial complete, announced, sounding disappointed. Barely. The second trial was worse. Ho was led to a room filled with holographic displays showing mathematical equations and star charts, thousands of variables, all interconnected. Solve the navigation problem, commanded. Find the optimal route through this star system that minimizes fuel, time, and radiation exposure. You have 30 minutes. Ho stared at the displays. He was decent at math, but this was beyond him. This required computational ability he did not have, and mind could process all these variables simultaneously. A human mind could not. 20 minutes passed. Ho had barely made progress. He could feel panic rising. This was the end. He was going to fail. Then he stopped, took a breath, thought about what Lord had said. They pursue optimal solutions, they calculate perfection. But humans do not work that way. Ho cleared all the complex equations. Instead, he pulled up the basic star chart. He ignored fuel efficiency, ignored optimal calculations. He drew a simple, direct route through the system. "This is your solution?" asked mockingly. "A child's straight line." "It's not optimal," Ho admitted. "It uses more fuel, takes longer, exposes the ship to more radiation, but it works. It gets you there. Sometimes good enough is better than perfect, especially when you don't have time for perfect calculations." The judges conferred. Finally, they nodded. The solution functions. Trial passed, though barely. The final trial was the hardest. Ho was shown a simulation of a colony under attack. He was the commander. He had to make decisions with limited information and time. The simulation began. Pirates attacked the colony. Ho had weapons, shields, evacuation ships, but not enough of any of them. Every choice meant sacrifice. The way would be to calculate which choice saved the most lives. Triage based on value and probability. Logic over emotion. But as Ho watched the simulation, he saw families, children, people scared and trying to survive. He could not reduce them to numbers. He made choices that did not make logical sense. He used weapons to create a distraction rather than fight directly. He evacuated the children first, even though that meant fewer trips overall. He split his forces in ways that were inefficient but protected more people. The simulation ended. The colony survived, but barely. Casualties were higher than the optimal solution would have produced. "You failed," announced triumphantly. "Your emotional decisions cost lives. You are not fit to." "He saved them," a voice interrupted. Princess Ra stood up from her seat. "Yes, there were more casualties than optimal, but the colony survived. The people have hope. That is worth more than cold equations." The rules state he must demonstrate leadership, Lord added, also standing. Leadership is not just calculation. It is also inspiration, courage, caring for those under your command. He demonstrated that. Other began standing. Even some of his own supporters looked uncertain. They had watched a human refuse to reduce people to numbers, refuse to sacrifice the weak for efficiency. It reminded them of something they had lost. General looked around at his people, saw the doubt in their faces. "This proves nothing. He barely passed. He used chaos and luck, not skill." "He survived," Ra said firmly. 3 challenges designed for perfection, and a human survived them all. Not by being perfect, but by being adaptable, by refusing to give up. That is exactly what we need. Ho stood in the center of the arena, exhausted and hurting, but alive. The judges conferred for long minutes. Finally, they announced, "The trials are passed. The human has proven himself worthy by law. The marriage may proceed." His face darkened with rage. "This is not over. The military will not accept this contamination of our people. You will all regret this day." He stormed out, his loyal followers behind him. But Ra rushed down to the arena floor. She caught Ho as he stumbled, holding him upright. "You did it. I cannot believe you did it." "Neither can I," Ho gasped. "Is this really happening?" "Yes, though I fear General will not accept defeat peacefully." Captain Wu, an ambassador, joined them. "We need to get you medical attention," said. "You look terrible." "I feel terrible," Ho agreed. "But I'm alive, that's what matters." As they helped him from the arena, Ho heard the watching talking among themselves. Some still looked doubtful, but others seemed thoughtful, even impressed. He had shown them something they had forgotten. That survival was not about being perfect. It was about refusing to quit, even when logic said you should. Now came the real challenge. Actually following through with this marriage and somehow helping an entire civilization remember how to be imperfect. But for today, Ho had survived. That was enough. 3 weeks had passed since the trials. Ho stood on a balcony of the Imperial Palace on Prime, looking out at the Crystal City below. Everything here was perfect. The buildings formed mathematical patterns. The streets flowed with calculated efficiency. Even the clouds seemed to move in organized formations. It was beautiful and terrifying. "You are thinking too loudly," Ra said, joining him on the balcony. She had changed from her formal robes into something simpler, though she still moved with that perfect grace. "I can see the worry on your face." "Is it that obvious?" "To me, yes. I am learning to read human expressions. You make many more than we do." She stood beside him, close but not touching. They had spent the past weeks learning about each other, supervised by advisors as tradition demanded. "What troubles you?" "Everything is so perfect here. The city, the people, the way everyone talks and moves. I feel like a stain on a white floor." Ho gestured at the organized streets below. "Look at me. I spilled food at dinner yesterday. I keep tripping over my own feet in these robes. I laugh too loud. I can't remember half the formal protocols." "I know," Ra said, and she was smiling. "It is wonderful." "Wonderful? I'm embarrassing you." "You are showing my people what they have forgotten, how to be imperfect, how to make mistakes and continue anyway." She pointed to a group of young in the garden below. "Watch them." Ho looked. The young were trying to play a human game he had taught them. Catch with a ball. They kept dropping it, throwing it wrong, bumping into each other. They were terrible at it. And they were laughing. "I have not heard that sound in my palace in years," Ra said softly. "Young are trained to be perfect from birth. They do not play games they might fail at. But you showed them it is acceptable to fail, to try again, to laugh at mistakes. That is a gift." "It's just a game." "No, it is the beginning of change." Ra turned to face him fully. "The wedding is tomorrow. If you have doubts, tell me now. I will not force you to continue." Ho was quiet for a moment. He did have doubts, massive ones. But he also thought about the past 3 weeks, learning the language which sounded like music, eating foods that were perfect but learning to add spices that made them taste like home, teaching Ra how to make mistakes and not apologize for them. "I'm terrified," he admitted, "but I'm not running, not yet. That is all I can ask." A sudden alarm shattered the peaceful moment. Red lights flashed across the city. Ra's expression turned sharp. "That is a military alert. Something is wrong." Lord burst onto the balcony, his usual calm replaced by urgency. "Princess, General has seized the orbital defense platforms. He is broadcasting across the Empire, calling your engagement a betrayal of purity. He demands you reject the human and name him as your consort instead." "He is attempting a coup," Ra said, her voice cold as ice. "Half the military supports him. The other half awaits your orders. We are on the edge of civil war." Ho felt his stomach drop. "This is because of me, if I leave." "If you leave, wins," Ra interrupted. "He gets to seize power by force and keeps the on the path to extinction. This was always going to happen. You just gave him an excuse to move now rather than later." Ambassador and Captain Wu arrived, both looking worried. "We have ships ready to evacuate all humans from the planet," said, "including you, Ho. This is not your fight." But Ra was staring at Ho, waiting. Not ordering, not demanding, just waiting to see what he would choose. Ho thought about the young in the garden, learning to laugh at failure. About Lord, who had shown him compassion and honesty. About Ra herself, desperately trying to save her people while being kind to a stranger from a primitive world. "What do you need me to do?" Ho asked Ra. "Nothing. This is not your responsibility." "That's not what I asked. What do you need?" Ra looked at him for a long moment. Then she made a decision. "I need to address the Empire, show them we are united, show them this marriage represents hope, not betrayal, but it will put you in danger, will see you as a target. I've been in danger before, let's do it." Within an hour, they stood in the Imperial broadcast chamber. Cameras from across the Empire focused on them. Billions of watched. Ra spoke first, her voice carrying authority. "My people, General claims I betray you by choosing a human mate, but I say he betrays you by clinging to a perfection that is killing us. For 10,000 years we have pursued flawlessness. We have achieved it, and now we die because of it." She gestured to Ho. "This human is not perfect. He makes mistakes constantly. He is inefficient, emotional, chaotic. By our standards, he is deeply flawed. And that is exactly why we need him, because life requires imperfection. Evolution requires variation. Survival requires adaptability. We have forgotten these truths in our pursuit of an impossible ideal." Ho stepped forward. His hands were shaking, but he forced himself to speak. "I am not a warrior or a genius or anyone special. I am just a guy who has survived impossible situations by refusing to give up. They are amazing. Your technology, your art, your civilization are wonders, but you are dying because you are too good at being perfect." He looked directly at the camera. "I come from a species that almost destroyed itself. We fight, we argue, we make terrible mistakes, but we survive because we adapt. We change. We try new things even when logic says we should not. Princess Ra is asking me to teach that to your children, to bring chaos and imperfection into your perfect world. That terrifies me, but it also feels right. It feels like maybe together we can find a balance. Her people's perfection and my people's adaptability. Maybe that is how you survive." The broadcast ended. For a moment there was silence. Then reports began flooding in. Across the Empire were watching, talking, debating. Some military units that had supported were standing down. Not all, but enough to matter. "He is retreating," Lord announced, reading tactical displays. "Is pulling back from the orbital platforms. He knows he has lost enough support that a civil war would be uncertain." "He will try again," Ra predicted. "But not today. Today we have bought time." The next day the wedding took place. It was smaller than planned, with security everywhere, but it happened. The ceremony combined both traditions, precision and human spontaneity. Ra wore robes of calculated mathematical beauty. Ho wore a formal suit from Earth with a tie that was slightly crooked because he could never get them right. When they exchanged vows, Ra spoke in perfect, her words precise and beautiful. Ho spoke in Korean and then translated to Galactic Standard, stumbling over a few words because he was nervous. It was not a perfect ceremony, but it was real. Afterward they stood together on the palace balcony again, now husband and wife, looking out at the Crystal City. The sun set, painting the perfect buildings in shades of gold and pink. "What happens now?" Ho asked. "Now we work," Ra said. "We establish cultural exchanges between our peoples. Young will study on Earth. Humans will come here to teach chaos and creativity. We will have children eventually, when you are ready, who will grow up understanding both worlds. And hopefully, slowly, my people will remember how to embrace imperfection. That could take decades. It will take centuries, but we have begun. That is what matters." Ho looked at his alien wife, this perfect princess who had chosen him, an imperfect human, because she understood that perfection was not enough. I'm still terrified. Good, fear means you understand the stakes, but are you still here? Still here? Then that is enough. Below them, the city lights began to turn on as darkness fell. Not in perfect mathematical patterns tonight, but in random clusters as individuals chose when to light their homes. A small change, barely noticeable, but a change nonetheless. In the palace gardens, Young played their ball game again, still dropping it, still laughing. Human advisors were already arriving, bringing chaos and creativity to the ordered world of Prime. Captain Wu had stayed, appointed as military liaison. Ambassador was establishing a permanent Earth embassy in the capital. General was still out there, still opposed, still dangerous. There would be more challenges, more threats, more impossible situations. But Ho had survived impossible situations before. Do you regret it? Ra asked quietly, being chosen. Ho thought about his small apartment back on the human station. His quiet, boring job filing reports, his safe, predictable life. Then he thought about standing here with an alien princess who laughed when he taught her that it was okay to burn food while cooking, about Young discovering the joy of making mistakes, about two civilizations finding a way forward together. Ask me again in 100 years, Ho said, smiling. But right now, no, I don't regret it. Ra took his hand, her grip warm despite her cool silver skin. Thank you, Li Ho, for being imperfect, for being stubborn, for being exactly what we needed. Thank you for pointing at me instead of someone more qualified. There was no one more qualified, only you. They stood together as darkness fell completely, and one by one, stars appeared in the sky above Prime. The same stars that shone on Earth, on Mars, on all the worlds of the galaxy. Somewhere out there, other impossible situations waited, other challenges, other threats to survival. But tonight, an alien princess and a human diplomat stood together, two imperfect people trying their best to save a perfect civilization by teaching it to be beautifully flawed. And somehow, against all odds and logic, it felt like they just might succeed. The galaxy had seen many wonders, advanced technology, powerful empires, ancient wisdom. But perhaps the greatest wonder was the simplest one, that humans never gave up, even when they should. That was the gift Ho brought to the... Not perfection, but persistence. Not flawless logic, but stubborn hope. Not certainty, but the courage to try anyway. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough.